Go.
You're live.
Okay, good evening, and welcome to the second of two Village Council candidate forums presented by the Islander News and the Key Biscayne Chamber of Commerce. My name is Tatiana Chiocchetti, and I am the Executive Director of the Key Biscayne Chamber. The purpose of our chamber is to promote and meet the needs of our business community through advocacy, education, and community engagement. The chamber is nonpartisan and does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. I commend all of you 10 candidates for your willingness to serve and wish you a super successful forum. So now let's take a moment for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag. You guys gotta follow along.
United
States of
Flag
America,
of the United States of America. And
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
liberty, justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all.
justice for all. Okay, good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Justo, we can't hear you. Your mic is muted.
You're still muted, Justo. We can't hear you.
Who's got still muted?
Am I muted now?
You're good
Now
now.
we can hear you.
Perfect. I apologize for the technical glitch.
You're good.
I do know how to drive this bus, but I'm Justo with the Islander, and it's a pleasure to see all of you and wish you the best of luck in today's forum. It's my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Walt Staton, who's president of Courtney Staton, a law firm in Coral Gables with a lot of clients on the Key. Walt is doing us the favor to moderate. This is his fourth Key Biscayne. So by now he's very familiar with the rules. We have a little technical glitch. You will not be able to see Walt, but it will be a pleasure. It will be the same as before. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and we'll have 2 minutes for each question. And then we'll have a 2 minutes closing statement at the end. I will chime in at 30 seconds of the answer. We want to get through a lot of questions, so we're going to ask you to please just try to stay to as close to the 2 minutes as we can for each question. Without further ado, Walt, the stage is yours, sir.
Okay, so this is the point where each of the candidates will be allowed 2 minutes to give an opening statement. You have the order, but I'll announce each of the candidates as it is your term, and we lead off with Ronaldo Figueroa, please.
Hello. Thank you, Walt. Thank you, Justo, Tatiana, candidates, and all fellow Key Biscayners for giving us the opportunity to listen to our ideas of each and every one of us trying to make a better village and a better world for us to live in. I think the situation for us has changed a little in the last time we met, in that we don't have or we have an announcement from our manager that resigned, and I think has changed the rules a little bit, in the sense that we need to now focus on, and I would, if I'm elected, I would focus on selecting a professional and tried, seasoned manager that will act as a CEO capable of efficiently managing our village and maintain the high standards that is due and owed and our whole community. So I think that is a big number one that we need to focus. Again, I repeat myself, I am against the bond, the GEO bond. The reasons I've explained over and over again. I think it's a moment today to think on what is happening with the economy, what will happen with our county, what will be the
We lose
I think
Rene?
we
Mr.
lost
Figueroa,
Ray.
if you could hear me, we have lost audio with you. I had a pop-up before, Justo, that said his internet connection was weak, so I don't know if that's the cause of this or not.
Oh, he has 20 seconds left.
Maybe
so
if you
we
could
will-
take off the
Sorry.
video.
With the connection. Please try.
Okay. So why don't we'll give Reynaldo an extra, on his closing statement, some extra time to be able to do that. Why don't we move on to the next one?
Okay, the next candidate is Lisa Conway, please.
Good evening to everyone out in Key Biscayne. Thanks for joining us again for another debate night. I am Louisa Lincoln Conway, and I am honored to run for Village Council. I am a Key Biscayne property owner since 2005. I'm running because I believe I can make a difference, bring a new perspective to governance of our village. I invested in Key Biscayne because my husband and I valued the fact that Key Biscayne was incorporated and self-governed. It was actually the main reason we moved to Key Biscayne. We were attracted to Key Biscayne low tax mill rate, lifestyle, and sense of close-knit community. I wanted my daughters, who were young at the time, to ride their bikes to KBCS, and Key Biscayne offered us a safe and secure community and a place to raise our daughters who are now at Mast Academy. Key Biscayne is at its turning point. It's in its 30-year history as an independent municipality. We cannot continue to rule ourselves as a small beachside village. We have a $36 million budget. We need a professional government. We need a new government, and we need a strategic and bold vision plan to help us improve our property values that have been declining for 3 years. I am opposed to the current Go Bond strategy. However, I am a strong advocate of a resilient Key Biscayne. And I also am a strong proponent of our beach resiliency and improving our coastal
30 seconds.
management practices. As a council member, I will not pursue irresponsible fiscal and tax increase policies without being mindful of the impact on you. I respectfully ask for your vote, and I appreciate the opportunity to present myself again to you tonight. Thank you to the Islander and to the Chamber for hosting this event once again.
Thank you. Next is candidate Armando Chappelli, please.
Unmuted.
Armando,
Here we
can't
go.
hear you.
Yep, I'm on now. Good evening, and thanks to the Chamber, to the Islander News, and past hosts of Zoom meetings, Ask Club, which was kind of fun. Moderator Stanton, we appreciate it. I'm running for council. This is the first office I run for in my life, and I believe that I bring a new perspective to council, private sector perspective that is much needed in Key Biscayne. This is a $35 to $40 million a year corporation. It's not a little town in the middle of nowhere. My objectives are very fundamental. I'm a Vince Lombardi type businessman. I'd like to shore up fundamentals in a company or in the village. Specifically, I would like to find a way to build resiliency, financial resiliency, before embarking on an unpredictable and uncharted course under the proposed GO bond, which I oppose simply because it has not been planned
30 seconds.
correctly. I believe in process very firmly. Otherwise, you're going to be like Yogi Berra. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up somewhere else. We need to involve everyone in the village, all the voters. We need to reach out to them. We need to build consensus. And we need to have, as a starting point, a retreat for the council off campus so that we can get along better.
Time.
Okay, thank you. Next is candidate Allison McCormick.
Thank you. And thank you to the Islander News and the Key Biscayne Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity tonight. I am Allison McCormick. I currently serve as one of your Village Council members. I'm a mother of 4 children, all of whom attend our public school system. I am a former school teacher with a master's degree in elementary education. Since serving, I've been elected vice mayor by my peers, and I feel I've served responsibly with passion, integrity, and civility. My most fundamental belief with respect to serving on council is that each elected council member really has the responsibility to represent all of Key Biscayne. I'd like to take a little bit of my introduction time to discuss some of the actions being taken with respect to this campaign. Many of us have witnessed some really negative campaigning with name calling and statements based on false information, just to name a couple of things. But those of you who have watched me over the last 4 years, or those of you getting to know me for the first time, I'd like to be very clear. I do not think that these tactics are okay for a community like ours. I am running because I am as concerned with the physical threats to our community from storms and aging infrastructure as I am about the threats to our village culture. Many of us moved here from various places across the globe because it seemed like an ideal place to raise children. The cultural diversity was of particular appeal to my husband and I when we moved here in 2012. The idea of a safe place with excellent schools and a local government that sought not only to offer high levels of service, but also to seek community involvement in decision-making was just so ideal for us. We had friends from the North who said it was like we lived on the Truman Show, if you ever saw that movie. But I think that the lies and negative attacks are not neighborly and not what I want in my community. So I promise you that for the remainder of my term and the next, you will continue to see me trying to restore civility through both my words and deeds. I'm sorry?
Time.
Oh, okay. Well, I've enjoyed serving. I look forward to continuing, and I would be honored for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Franklin Kaplan, please.
Good evening. Thank you. It's good to be with everyone in this now familiar Zoom medium. I'm going to stick to an introduction in a kind of a biographical quick sketch sense. I moved to Miami to continue the practice of law. I told the story about how I encountered the Donut Gallery. I haven't yet told the story of how I encountered the sandbar on that first visit to Key Biscayne, but that was much later in the afternoon, I promise. My legal work is contracts, working with operating businesses, construction projects, financings and transactions of all sorts, and dispute resolution when things don't quite work out. I've been unbelievably 25 years with the same law firm, a point of constancy in this transient world. I feel that my lawyering experience dovetails very interestingly with my community service work. Close analysis of fine points, communication skills, negotiations, frequently advocacy and problem solving of all sorts, and helping people in the process. It's a very satisfying combination in my life. I've been working in and for the Key Biscayne community since I first planted my flag here. I was tapped for zoning and planning pre-incorporation, and I never stopped. That included 2 terms as mayor and 8 years on the council. I've served with 5 of the current incumbents on the council.
30 seconds.
I've loved public service. I feel now that my highest and best use is to be where the decisions are made. So I put myself forward, hoping that you'll consider carefully who among us can be the most constructive and contributory, hoping that you'll bear in mind what all of us have done for the community in the past, recognizing that the past can be prelude, and hoping that you will repose your trust and confidence in me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Oscar Sardinas, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chamber, Walter, Justo, Tatiana, and the rest of my colleagues. Great to see you all again. I'm going to start a little bit about me. For those of you who don't know me yet, I came here in 84, 85. The idea was to vacation and never left. I have two young daughters, 8 and 4, also both in the public school system, who I absolutely adore and have become and always have been the motivation for giving back to my community. I wanted to take a moment to thank the tens of, probably now over at least 100 to 200 people who have reached out to me, who have called me, surprised that I might answer the phone to give me their perspective. This for me has been the greatest ride of a lifetime. The opportunity and access to meet remarkable people from all walks of life on this beautiful island that I am sure we all came for very similar reasons, that really care. What I love especially is the idea that I have had these conversations with people who agree and don't agree with me. And yet somehow, some way, they've supported my campaign just by giving me their perspective. I wonder how many people in this group have been able to reach out and speak to you and listen and be present. And I love the idea that, or the idea that we can see things differently, that respect our point of view. And so I want to thank everybody for that. We'll talk about other items here, and maybe we'll get to the truth of who really here is here for the good of the community and not for any other interest. Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next is candidate Michael Kelly, please.
Hi there, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank Justo at the Islander and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. This is such a cool concept. I also want to thank the other candidates. Thank you for dedicating some of your time to do this. It's 10 of us, that's a lot. The fact that we can all gather at one time, we each have our own lives, so thank you. And obviously the residents of Key Biscayne, thank you for listening in. Your support is the reason why we're all running, so thank you for that. And a special shout out to my family, in particular my sister, who's been my rock. She's been my campaign manager, so thank you, Danny. All right, so a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here in Key Biscayne. My parents are two Nicaraguans who moved here in the 1980s. And Key Biscayne is the only place I've ever called home. 27 years, and it's paradise for me. I'm a lawyer. I graduated 2 years ago from St. Thomas University School of Law, where I got my Juris Doctorate degree and also an MBA. I've been practicing law for 2 years now, in-house counsel at an office in Brickell. I mostly do transactional work. As I mentioned, I've lived in Key Biscayne my whole life, and I currently live in Key Colony, but I've lived in almost every spot you can think of in Key Biscayne, from Ridgewood to Glenridge to Woodcrest, just to name a few streets. Again, I'm running because I truly believe that my generation needs a voice on council. A lot of times we kind of get left out. And so I think my generation really does need a voice. It needs, especially in this new tech boom and in this new era. And in addition to that, again, we need to preserve this island, the only place I've ever called home, which is Key Biscayne. And I'm really concerned for it. We've done a lot within the island. So thank you to all the previous generations and all the previous council members who've helped me out to make it such a great childhood. But now we need to do things on the outside of the barrier island. It's time to do resiliency projects, and it's important to do it now. And if elected or not, we just need to give council that extra option, which is why I'm in favor for the GO bond. So that's a little bit about myself and who I am and why I'm running. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you. Next is candidate Jennifer Allegra, please.
Thank you to the Key Biscayne Chamber of Commerce and the Islander News for holding this forum. Also, thank you to all the residents and neighbors and friends who care so deeply about the community that they're watching this forum. I'm Jennifer Allegra. I'm humbly here to ask for your vote and for your trust. I also encourage you to vote no for the $100 million blank check. Please require our future council and future manager to come back to us in 12 months with a more transparent plan that includes a formal schedule of approved projects, accurate and hard cost estimates, and timelines for those projects. This type of transparency builds trust. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, I have not had the pleasure of meeting you or speaking to you in person, but I would like to take this opportunity to tell you what I stand for. I have deep respect for our village charter, and I zealously support our village charter. The foundation this is the foundation of our village. The charter is the footprint of our government. It's brilliant and uniquely fits the needs of our island. I am grateful and I am humbled by the people who created the village charter. One of the reasons I'm running is because I'm appalled that the current council strongly considered changing the village charter to increase the debt cap. Secondly, I value safety and absolutely believe in law and order. Like many of you, I moved to Key Biscayne because it's a safe place to live. Life and safety is an absolute priority for me, as it is to my neighbors. I'm running to serve you, my neighbors, and do my part to preserve our special island. Because of the limited time, please contact me directly to discuss my positions on the issues. You can contact me at electalegra@gmail.com or 305-669-4426. As you know, this is possibly the most important election in the history of Key Biscayne. There's a lot at stake. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Our local businesses are suffering. Some of our residents are losing their job, and our chief administrator has resigned. Finally, we're staring down the barrel of a $100 million GO bond. I may be little, but I'm mighty. I'm a New Yorker, a hurricane, a Hoya, and all of that makes me a fighter. I promise if you entrust me with your support, I will fight for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Matt Bramston, please.
Hello, everybody. Thanks also to the Islander and the Chamber of Commerce for arranging this. I moved to Key Biscayne 12 years ago with my family. I was recruited to help run a technology company, and that's what I've been doing for 30 years, is starting and growing technology companies, helping them overcome all sorts of challenges, fiscal challenges, competitive challenges, operational challenges. And so diagnosing and fixing problems is what I do. I've done it in the professional realm. I've done it in the community and nonprofit realm. When I moved to Key Biscayne with my family, I did what I always do. I got very involved in the community. I was on the board of a local church, St. Christopher's. I was a flag officer at the Key Biscayne Yacht Club. I volunteered for a couple of committees, a social media advisory committee and the 2040 vision board for the village. And I got active in the operation of my condo. I've been the president of my condo building and the president of Key Colony at large. And in all those roles, I have brought results. I brought consensus. I brought better communication, and I would bring the same approach that I've taken to this new role. This is an important election. It's not a single issue election. Single issue elections and candidates that treat elections as single issue, I think do the voters a disservice. Single elections favor the least prepared candidates. There are a lot of issues that are going to be decided. The GO bond will be decided by the voters. As a council person, I'm prepared to take the village forward regardless of whether the bond passes or not. And I'd be happy to explain that in a little bit more detail. One of the things I'd be very focused on is restoring confidence. I sense that there are a percentage of voters, it's hard to tell how large, that seem to have lost confidence in our leadership and our processes. And I think that type of cynicism is corrosive. And I would not stoke it. I will try to repair it.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Brett Moss, please.
Thank you. Currently, I'm your vice mayor, and I've been on council for 4 years. I moved to Key Biscayne 15 years ago. I'm married. I have 3 young children here that attend the schools, the local public schools. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I have a master's degree in architecture, an MBA, and a master's degree in human resource management. And I am also a licensed architect and a general contractor, and I run both of my firms. I've been very involved in the community. I have chaired I've chaired the Education Advisory Board for the Village of Key Biscayne. I was on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. I was a secretary of the Historic Society. I'm a proud current member of the Key Biscayne Rotary Club. And I'm on the board of the Miami Center of Architecture and Design. I'm running because I'm passionate. I'm passionate about my community. I believe through my professional understanding as an architect and a general contractor, and my knowledge as a council member, and also my business experience and my commitment to the community as a volunteer makes me able to be an effective council member. Additionally, I know that the most important decision that will be put in front of this council in the next 4 years is selecting our next manager. And luckily, I have been able to work under 2 managers now within the village, and they were vastly different management styles. And I believe with this experience and knowledge, I would be an asset in making this important selection for Key Biscayne. Things that I think are most important is that we need to take care of what we already own and what we have. We need to take I wouldn't say financial resiliency, I would say financial sustainability is what we need to be focused on. And we need to have people up there that understand these types of projects and be able to get these projects started. So with that, I hope I have everybody's vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're now up to the first question. The Rickenbacker Causeway is the exclusive auto access to Key Biscayne. Remember what happened in 2018 when the causeway was closed both ways in the morning and the island's economy came to a literal standstill. Subpart A, what makes the situation more complex is that the village does not have jurisdiction on any part of the causeway, nor Virginia Key or the Miami Marine Stadium site. There is also the issue of the Bear Cut Bridge, which by all accounts is in dire need of repair. Subpart B, if elected, what course of action would you advocate to manage the relationship with both Miami-Dade County and the city of Miami to make sure Key Biscayne is not strangled by lack of access to the Key Biscayne? Mr. Figueroa, you're up.
Yes. Part of the whole idea of me running for council and trying to make this village continue to be the great village it is and making it better and making sure that what set out to be done in 1991 continues, even though the demographics have changed, the usage of the village has changed. I'd love to get back to the basic principles of what the island was, which was a simple, civic, educated island. And in that, I think the civility is taking the front line on today, and we have to concentrate on that. And the civility, I mean that we have to stand united as one island, because I think the resiliency issues and the GO bonds and all the other problems that we need to solve can be solved by ourselves. Issues that are outside of the village are controlled by our bigger brothers. We have the Florida State Parks, we have City of Miami, we have Miami-Dade, and they are the ones that can open or close the bridge. So if we don't stand united amongst ourselves, when we sit down and we try to find a solution or have a connection with them, a positive connection that it doesn't involve lawyers or fightings, I think that's the only way we can build. Through the Hermanos de la Calle, we've actually sat down yesterday, as far as a couple of days ago, we got another check from City of Miami for help to help the foundation and all the people have housing outside of the island, but we can bridge and we have that communication. I just want to continue to do civil, cordial, intelligent approach to help all.
Thank you. Next is candidate Louisa Conway, please.
We need to build a stronger partnership with the county. We are paying the county an estimated $37 million annually in taxes, and we're not entirely happy with the relationship. I'm not a proponent of Key Biscayne as a donor community, like some who are currently running for council or on council. I do believe we need effective council leadership that advocates for Key Biscayne residents. Control over the Rickenbacker Causeway is a complicated issue, but Key Biscayne needs to have a voice on the causeway's traffic management, bridge infrastructure, because these are life and safety issues for our residents. We need to explore a political solution, such as creating an advisory board that allows Key Biscayne to have a seat at the table, along with the City of Miami, who controls Virginia Key, the county, that controls the tolls, the causeway, and the bridges, and the state that controls bill bags, and maybe a fifth party to prevent a deadlock. But for Key Biscayne to discuss funding bridge repairs or reconstruction is frankly, in my opinion, insane. We do not control the causeway. Our efforts are better spent building a partnership and coalition with these stakeholders. This is why Key Biscayne needs someone like me on council. I have a vision to bridge county relationship that is beneficial to Key Biscayne. As we should be treated as county residents, not county donors. We are partners with Miami-Dade County, and we need to enforce the $37 million that we pay.
Thank you. Next is candidate Armando Chappelli, please.
Armando, you're muted.
You're correct.
There you go.
Okay. Clearly, this is a challenge of creating positive intergovernmental relations between our city and the entities that rule the causeway. Indeed, the state of Florida, Miami-Dade County, City of Miami, and the village of Key Biscayne, it's hard enough to manage one entity. Bringing them all together requires skillful, thoughtful, consensus-building approach. First, as has been suggested, to create a unified perspective from our village and bring it forcefully but intelligently to bear on first at the state level, I would start, so that we can garner support from the governor's office and then move on down to the local entities that are involved. I worry tremendously about the state current condition of Bear Cut Bridge. It is a repair waiting to happen that needs to be addressed, and we need to bring the county into financing this. So I think bringing a business perspective into this process will create the conditions necessary to move the ball downfield rather than just talk about it all the time, which is what we've been doing.
Thank you. Next candidate, Allison McCormick, please.
Thank you very much. So this is a really important issue because, of course, we know that the Rickenbacker Causeway is our only way in, our only way out, and it is not our property. So the relationships that we can establish are crucial, and the work on this has been ongoing and continues to work. And I'd like to share some really positive progress that we've made as an example of how these relationships work and how they bring fruit to bear. We have established a group coalition with the police departments so that when there is a major shutdown, as we had with the terrible accident last year that caused the causeway to be shut down for an extended period of time, we now have the Key Biscayne Police Department has access to every single locked gate along the causeway so that they can revert traffic through the parking lots. They also have access to all of the sort of cones and traffic blocking sawhorses and so forth that are out on the causeway so that we don't have to wait, and we have plans in place so that we know how to quickly react when there's an incident so that we can keep traffic moving, both for our residents who need to come and go, but also, of course, as was stated, for the life safety issues. So with respect to the Bear Cut Bridge, it's the same thing. All of this stuff is relationships. And I would say, I think that's why you want proven leadership of people who already have established relationships and who have made progress on this front. And it's absolutely a crucial thing for all of us to be concerned about, and not to start trying to put together a plan, but to continue plans that are working.
Thank you. Next is candidate Franklin Kaplan, please.
We've got 3 bridges. We've got 4 jurisdictions affected. We need strategies including working from the strengths of good relationships, which we have been building particularly at the county level for a long time. I think the strategies with the county, primarily the county, include the point that we have common interests that can become common goals. And this involves a little bit of persuasion, perhaps, with respect to county public works, responsibilities that they have to perform in any event, that they can perform those responsibilities in a way that includes road design features and turn lanes, for example, that align nicely with our interests. The mutual self-interest that we have with the county can be a very useful device. We've recognized, the county's recognized for a long time, that the Causeway actually functions as a linear park as well as a road, our one and only road, as we often point out. We've worked effectively with the county on road safety for better accommodation of bikes, pedestrians, and cars. We've had success with that. We can build on that. We have had success in developing mutually acceptable plans for Calusa improvements, which have gotten scotched because of the Crandon Amendment Committee. We've had a lot of plans that are really great off the road bike path that extends to the golf course and the tennis center, the bridge replacement designs taking into account both the climatological conditions, but also roadway redesign that would really better serve our one-way linkage existential need for this road to be free-flowing all the time, no matter what. We have an opportunity because there's a resourced facility for a tennis tournament, but no tournament. This is a opportunity, it seems to me, and it seems to others, including at the county, for a parks and recreational joint venture that makes a heck of a lot of sense. Same principle applies at the Public Works Yard on the other side of the road. The same principle applies to better and adaptive use of replacing out asphalt with permeable space and adaptable space for recreational opportunities. Much improved ecological conditions on the west side, which is just a wasteland largely. Perhaps improvements of the golf course for a golf tournament, and the list goes on and on.
Thank you. Next is candidate Oscar Sardinas, please.
So this, it's complex. There's several jurisdictions, there's several people involved, there's several ideas. You know, the basis for a fundamental starting point for any collaboration is just first starting to show up. Show up in the sense that all too often we come with our ideas and what we want and what we desire for our community. We need to go out and reach out to these other communities, find out what it is that they want, what they envision. There's a beautiful story about a park now being in the middle of its project phase called the Underline. It started from a citizen walking back from physical therapy or riding her bike back from physical therapy, falling down, breaking both arms. And for a moment, she looked at this incredible wide open space and realized what a gift this was. She went, she spoke to people, she got together with them, and she shared her vision with passion, with an open ear and with presence. And she was able to bring people together to come to this vision that now potentially is at our doorstep. This is how collaboration works. It doesn't work with us imposing our beliefs or what we think is right. It goes with first starting with empathy for what is necessary or what is value add for the person across the table. We have a great opportunity. There are many people in other jurisdictions that feel that Key Biscayne is the envy of other municipalities. Let us not necessarily be the envy of other municipalities. Let's be partners with other municipalities. I think the work that's been done so far is fantastic. I think there's a long way to go, but we need to show up. We need to show our interests. We need to show our passion. We need to show our presence. And that's where we're going to get. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Michael Kelly, please.
Okay, so as all the other candidates mentioned, the situation is complex. I mean, there's nothing, it's just extremely complex. 5 jurisdictions, multiple bridges, extreme long causeway that obviously needs some work to be done on. But the truth of the matter is it's the only way in and out of Key Biscayne. And so we're gonna need to have a good relationship with both the county and the city of Miami. It's just the only thing we can do is have a good relationship, because at the end of the day, a good relationship benefits all the parties involved. Frank mentioned some great ideas that we could do with the tennis center and the park and everything about it. I actually also want to thank Council Now. They've done a great job. I actually see the difference. And Chief Press, Chief Lang, I've seen the difference in the emergency response time. I noticed that there's a better relationship going on. You can tell with Ultra moving out. And look, we have to, it's not like we're just gonna give them everything they want. We have to stand our ground as well. The lawsuits for the boat show and Ultra, they were necessary, right? I mean, we have to stand our ground, but we don't need to sue them for everything. We don't need to keep fighting for everything. It's a give and take. It's what a relationship is, right? And again, as I mentioned earlier, the truth of the matter is that we kind of have to rely on them a little bit. I mean, it's the only way in and out. So a good relationship is key. Standing our ground is also key, but finding that leeway between and give and take here and there is what we're going to have to do, and it's what we're going to have to rely on. Current council and Frank, they mentioned great ideas, which I think are outstanding. They're awesome ideas. And again, the only way those ideas are going to be executed is if we have a good relationship with both the county and the city and any other jurisdiction that's involved there. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Jennifer Allegra, please.
Yes, so thank you for this question. In terms of our relationship with Miami-Dade County, in my opinion, this is such a critical issue and should really be on the top of everyone's mind. And this issue encompasses education choices, including a new high school or possibly even more seats at Mast Academy. This issue includes our beaches. We need clean water, and we need to repair the damage done by the burying of the seaweed. And of course, this is a health safety issue. We need to get on and off this island in case of an emergency or in case of a hurricane. As some have experienced, seconds can mean the difference between life and death. Our relationship both with Miami-Dade and the state needs to be solidified and strengthened. We need them to respect us and support us. We are an island. We don't own these bridges, and we can't afford to purchase the bridges. They're just not ours. We have to make sure those bridges are going to be there and that they're safe. Ultimately, the state has ultimate authority, responsibility, and governance over this causeway. The county owns and operates it and should really manage it in an equitable way for all citizens. I am very concerned about the Bear Cut Bridge. It's been described as lipstick on a pig. Those pilings underneath the bridge are deteriorating. I think it's called spalding. And this bridge may not survive a Category 2 hurricane. And what is that going to do to us? You know, I will try to do my best to build strong, lasting relationships with Miami-Dade County. And if that doesn't work, I will fight them tooth and nail to get our residents a fair result, you know, considering the percentage of our property values that go to the county. And I do believe that I have the skill set to serve. As an attorney, I'm an advocate, and I have a keen attention to detail. Moreover, I am a fighter. And I think that we need to, as Michael said, stand our ground with the county and get an equitable shake. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Matt Bramson, please.
Yeah, this is a great question. Thank you. I was raised by a woman who, in her 40s, earned a PhD and became a professor of intergovernmental relations. I helped her study. I was in high school and helped her write 2 books, and learned a lot from that experience. And in my professional life, one of the things that I specialized in is selling services to large enterprises. And what I learned from that is a couple of things. One is you have to have a realistic perspective on a relationship. Key Biscayne is small. We don't have a lot of electoral power over the county. Suggestions that we fight are, you know, maybe good sound bites, but it's in a very expensive way to get things done. And if you know the history of Key Biscayne, you'd know that we've spent a lot of money and not gotten a lot of results. So I'm not a big advocate of fighting with a much larger organization. What I'm an advocate for and this is what my business and personal experiences taught me, is that you've got to be proactive about the relationship. You've got to understand the needs of the larger entity. You've got to build those relationships at a human level. You've got to meet the people and align the people at multiple levels in your organization with their organization. You've got to be proactive. You can't be reactive. You can't wait until there's a plan on the table and then protest it. That's too late. You need to be thinking about what the vision for Key Biscayne is relative to the causeway. That's why I'm a fierce advocate for moving forward with professional assistance on the 2040 vision plan that's been approved by the council. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of commitment. I remember when I used to fly almost every other day, there was a ad in the airplane magazine that said, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And so what we deserve from the county is kind of irrelevant. What we need to focus on is what we can negotiate. And I'll bring that type of a perspective if elected to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Brett Moss, please.
Thank you. And Matt, I agree very much with what you said. It's about being proactive, not reactive. We have many things that are coming up on the causeway. The Plan Z by Bernard Ziskovich, looking at a higher Bearcut Bridge, safer bicycle lanes, linear park, Crandon Park. We want to work with the county. We want to bring in playing fields. We want to have connection for our golf carts to get to those fields. But at the same time, we want to protect Crandon Park. We want to be on the front to protect it so it stays as a park forever. And events and development at the Marine Stadium is obviously going to be causing traffic issues on what is our most important, what I call the umbilical cord, our lifeline. And we want to make sure that and ensure that that is not threatened. First, and what Oscar said was very important, is that we, in order to be proactive or reactive, but in order to be, the best way is to be present. When the boat show was coming up, I was there. I was not a council member at the time. I was there at the county speaking, trying to be heard about the issues that was going to be caused. And good thing that we did what we did because it made the traffic much less impactful for our residents. Ultrafest, I was there speaking as a council member. I was there maybe for 10 hours waiting, sitting in the front row with other council members. Councilmember Laredo would remember that we drove back together and we were actually late in the installation ceremony, installing the new council for Key Biscayne. But we need to build better relationships with our neighbors. We need to be proactive. The idea of a causeway authority is great, but that's been brought up every 2 years for the last 10 years. Everybody talks about that, and it doesn't happen. But we are making progress. We have the Virginia Key Master Plan Oversight, which has 2 of our residents as members. We want to help them work towards their master plan and make it a reality. But to be proactive, we need to sit with our neighbors. We need to help come up with solutions that benefit us and them. And that's the proper way that we can ensure our lifeline to the mainland is not threatened. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the second question. The village manager, Andrea Aga, abruptly resigned on September 25. The village council elected to keep her on until the end of November and fast-track a search for a new manager. The hiring of the new village leader will likely fall on the new council. Following is a 2-part question. Subpart A, if you would have been sitting on the village council, would you have voted on this motion or let Ms. Aga move on and name an interim village manager? Subpart B, what would you advocate for in the hiring of the next village manager? A seasoned professional manager or someone qualified but with local ties? For instance, a resident who has lived or worked on the Key for a number of years. Now we'd like to hear from candidate Ronaldo Figueroa, please.
Oh, the departure or the resign, whatever happened with Andrea is definitely a news that was shocking to us all, especially in a moment like this, where we are in the midst of an election that will elect a new council, whether the bonds or no bonds, the depreciation of value of the land, et cetera, et cetera. I think what I would have done on part A of the question, I think I was not on the council to see how the council managed or how she was able to manage council. But I do see that, and I did speak with her before her decision, or before she publicly spoke about her decision. And I found that she's a very professional, prepared, capable woman and I wish her luck. That brings me to point B. I think we need a CEO, a professional and seasoned manager that is capable of efficiently running a complicated village with very high standards expected. That has to happen both on the execution, accountability, and also on the management, even at the council level. I think that the manager has to be able to stand firm and do his or her job correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Louisa Conway, please.
First, I want to say thank you to Andrea for her amazing job these past 2 years. I've actually thought that she was very capable, and it's really sad to see her go, especially because she was the first one to come in and really try to professionalize the government and gave us some of the best budget reports we've seen as residents. So to that, bravo, Andrea, and thank you for putting in a CFO. And I really wish you the best in your endeavors. And as for the question about hiring an interim manager, or actually, I think the council had considered putting someone locally, one of the department heads. We've done that in the past, and I'm not so sure that that's the best option for us. So I actually think that the best is to let Andrea be there, which she's offered. She has, I think, 90 days to be there. That's part of her contract. And I'm a firm believer that we need to hire a seasoned village manager. We are a mature community today. We're not that beachside community anymore. So if I'm on council, that's what I will be pushing for. If we find somebody that's local and they've got amazing skill sets, fine. But the bottom line is the person has to come with very strong municipal background, municipal management, and they have to be able to engage in best practices. And council needs to stop trying to micromanage the manager. So that's something that I strongly believe in, and I think that we as a community deserve. So I'm all for the council getting a recruiting firm again, like they did under Mayor Lindsay, and let's get somebody new.
Thank you. Next is candidate Armando Chappelli, please.
You're on mute, Armando. We can't hear you.
There you go.
Thank you. Recruitment has been my business for the past 40 years or so. In the consulting arena, it's what we do day to day. So I'm very familiar with the needs of seeking out, identifying, and vetting very thoroughly potential candidates for this very critical job. Andrea has done a very interesting and difficult, challenging process. In fact, I think that she has been through the equivalent of boot camp, and just as she succeeded to get to first base, she feels that she has to resign. So I wish her well. We need to find a very seasoned professional with strong management skills and strong consensus building skills. This is a diverse community with competing interests everywhere, and a council that in the past may not have been as aware and responsive to those needs. So, and it's also, according to the charter, a village government that is centered around a strong manager, not around a strong mayor or council. So allowing this new person to come in and do the job properly with proper 30 seconds? Is that what you said, 30 seconds?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm 20. allowing this manager to perform their tasks properly under proper supervision is essential. Micromanaging an individual of this caliber that we hope to bring in here is would be a very, very bad mistake. I think we need to have metrics to evaluate the performance, and I think we need to conduct those evaluations on a quarterly basis.
Thank you. Next is candidate Allison McCormick, please.
Thank you. This is perhaps one of the most important elections, in large part because of the hiring of the next manager. As the village nears its 30th birthday, there are many long-term employees who have retired or have moved on for different reasons. We had the same village attorney for about 25 years, a long-standing clerk that had been with the village since inception. Hi, Conchita, if you're watching. And a 7-year manager who also had been with the village since the beginning. And these employees and others who have left really embodied a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge. It's 7 o'clock. Sorry. And that often helps the village. The institutional knowledge helps it move in positive directions when you are able to reflect on where you came from. When we hired Ms. Aga, the council set as a top priority significant municipal management experience. And really that was so that the council didn't need to step in and manage. And it's no secret, I was the one who seemed to really remember this when it came to actually voting on our selection. But despite my belief that she didn't really meet this standard, I've worked really hard with her to make her successful, something I know she would confirm. And I have to say that she could not have worked harder. She was very committed to her task. So I to answer the first part of the question, I think she was ready to move on. And I think she served with all of her heart, and we should have let her move on and put an interim in place. And for the second part of the question, I believe was sort of like, what would I think of an ideal candidate? And for me, it's a person with a deep understanding of our history, and also our goals to have an efficient government that's close to its residents, delivering exceptional levels of service. But they must bring with them substantial municipal management experience. And I hope we can move swiftly in this process. Our village needs to move forward, and we need strong leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Franklin Kaplan, please.
A two-part question. The first part, I don't know all of the discussions that ensued leading to the decision that the council reached, but looking at it neutrally from from the bleacher section, I would not have voted as the council voted. I would have hastened her departure with abundant gratitude for a job well done. It seems to me that forestalling a transition is to complicate the transition and perhaps to create delays in the fulfillment of the transition that would be avoidable if you just get on with it and bring an interim manager in. We have excellent interim manager selection choices right before us, including people that have served in that capacity repeatedly. It also, this conversation seems a little superficial from my perspective of having gone through this a number of times. The very first process was novel because we were building a government out of nothing, but it taught us something about the nature, the protracted nature, the difficult nature of the assessments of resumes that can seem indistinguishable, and how to differentiate among professional candidates. I hasten to say all of whom are professional managers, all of whom have the requisite experience. But finding that diamond in the rough is a very difficult process.
30 seconds.
The last two processes were not great. It takes a lot of knowledge and it takes a lot of understanding of what you're looking for in that candidate to be able to sort through choices. And it is possible to find that choice locally, but that choice would necessarily have to include all of the requisite professional managerial skills that are associated with managing a large, complex, multi-service, multifaceted city.
Time.
Thank you. Next, candidate Oscar Sardinas, please.
So over the years and professionally, I've hired, trained, managed thousands of people here and abroad, different cultural backgrounds, different skill sets. And what I find always most important is not necessarily what you find on paper, but the type of person that you're dealing with and whether or not they fit the culture of the organization. You could say, people say it doesn't make any sense to hire someone and then tell them what to do. The idea is not to micromanage, is to give some kind of guidance. And through that, you create a relationship, symbiotic relationship between whether it's council or manager, CEO, CFO, or middle management. It's incredibly important to set expectations, be very clear on those expectations. But before any of this happens, we as a community need to figure out what is it that we want. Many of us would argue that 5-10 years ago, the divisiveness that you might see in today's election never would have existed. But yet here we are. And so do we want somebody that's going to bring us together, that's going to come in, that's going to learn who we are, what is our why, so to speak, and then build their skill set, what they currently bring to the table, and find a way to add value to this community? Or are we going to have somebody come in and just tell us what to do all day long? I'm of the opinion that yes, there are certain skill sets you have managerial with regards to managing large organizations. I think that government experience is going to be helpful as well. But more than any of that, I want to know what that person is made of. Is that the person that's going to be listening, being present, understanding, finding out what it is that we need as a community, and then coming to us with a solution as opposed to any excuses that might have happened? As far as the other part of the question, I also would have voted for allowing her to create or to have her replacement. I think that it's important when somebody decides their time is over, who are we to tell her otherwise?
Time.
I think she's accomplished very wonderful things here on the island. And I also think there were some shortcomings, but we all learn from our failures as well. And so I wish her the best of luck. I think Andrea was an incredibly intelligent person, charismatic, did the best that she could with what she had.
Time.
And so I bid her farewell. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Michael Kelly, please.
Andrea, if you're watching, thank you. I think you did an amazing job. Your work product speaks for itself. So thank you, and I wish you the best of luck, wherever that may be. So it's a two-part question. The first one was would I agree with the motion that council approved of? I'm not sure because I'm not really there. I was on the sidelines, I guess. And so I'm not entirely sure, but I'm sure council made what they thought, made a decision on what they thought was best for the city. And so I am in agreement with what they passed. Whatever's easier for the transition. I mean, that's what I would have done, and whatever's best for the city. I mean, if keeping her on now is easier and better for the city for the transition part, yeah. But like Oscar just said, if she wanted to go, who are we to hold her back? So kind of hard to just make a decision or choice. But one thing is sure is that the new village manager will be my rock, because as I'm gonna say in my closing argument or closing statement is I need to rely on the experts. And so the next village manager needs to have great experience. They need to have a proven and qualified resume, because I'm going to rely on what the village manager tells me. I think that's what council currently does, is they rely on the village manager. So it's an extremely important position. It's in my opinion the rock of Key Biscayne. It's what makes the world turn around, especially in the Key. As for the second question, does it have to be a local? My only concern with the locals is some bias in certain departments or with a council member. That would be my only concern. I'm not entirely against it if they're qualified, but bias. And in addition to that, I prefer the person came from a bigger city who had to manage something bigger, because moving to Key Biscayne, it's a smaller city to manage. So they would be qualified to manage Key Biscayne. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Jennifer Allegra, please.
Okay, this is a great question. So first and foremost, I want to thank Andrea for her service to this community. She came to this community to professionalize the office of village manager, and I think she did just that. I think she served the village with dignity and a smile through very difficult times, such as the global pandemic and some insurgency maybe against her. I think Andrea made very many positive improvements, and I think she leaves us with a good foundation to further build and improve upon. I do wish her the best of luck and much success, and I hope she will stay on staff until we're able to locate a permanent replacement, perhaps even help us find that permanent replacement. As you all know, the Village of Key Biscayne has a council manager form of government. The manager is responsible to the council and is tasked with directly supervising all the administrations of all departments. The council shall deal, as per the charter, with the village officers and employees who are subject to the direction and supervision of the manager solely through the manager. Arguably, the manager has the most important job in the village. Probably more important than the job of the council. The manager is the CEO. I'm of the very strong opinion that we need to search far and wide for the most qualified replacement. We need someone strong. We need someone willing to stand up to Miami-Dade and fight for our village. We need someone willing to say no to the council if they're being asked to do something that's not right for the village. We need someone with a proven track record, someone neutral and independent with no ties to Key Biscayne. No nepotism, no cronyism.
30 seconds.
We have to be methodical, yet cast a wide net to find the right person. We shouldn't settle. As you know, the next council will be tasked to select the next village manager. In addition to the $35 million budget, the next manager will most likely be responsible and accountable for future complex projects funded by long-term debt. As such, we need a strong leader with a proven track record of success to lead us into our 30th year of incorporation and give us a solid footing for the next 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Matt Bramson, please.
Thank you. Those who've served with me in corporate leadership or community leadership know that I don't shy away from tough truths. This situation with the manager is a failure. Every time an employee leaves an organization, it's a failure. It's generally a combination of failures. Didn't choose the right person in the first place. Didn't create an environment where that person could succeed, didn't create goals that were clear, didn't set expectations that were clear, didn't understand the job well enough to hire for it properly. We got to understand the failure before we can make prudent plans to replace the manager. It's a tough job. You can't just lead. You can't just follow. It's an artful combination. Hiring for qualifications is not effective. It has to be deeper than that. You have to assess the personality of the person. You have to assess their temperament, their approach to solving problems, and you have to see that there's a fit between the expectations of the organization and the community that it supports and the candidates. The question about what I would have done if I was on the council, you face tough truths. You tackle problems when you identify that there is a problem, that the person who's in the role doesn't want it anymore. You have to make a change immediately. You don't let it fester. Bringing someone in temporarily and moving on quickly is the decision I would have made. I think that deciding exactly what qualifications you want before going through the exercise of understanding what happened with this hire and what caused this hire to be a failure. And I'm not calling Andrea Aga a failure personally, and please understand. She did her job as well as she could, but the expectation we had is that she was going to be the manager for many years to come, and that expectation failed, and we need to own that as a community. And if I'm on the council, I'll make sure I understand that as best I can and leverage that understanding so that we have a more successful situation for our village and for our community and for our next manager.
Thank you. Next is candidate Brett Moss, please.
Thank you. Well said, Matt. Andrea and I have a great working relationship, and I wish her the best. For the first question, I was a person that was in favor to allow Andrea to leave. She wanted to leave by contract. She's obligated to stay for 90 days for us to transition. However, I look at this from a business opportunity that would save us $50,000 if we did let her leave for 90 days early, which including benefits could go all the way up to about $80,000, which is a significant savings for us. And we have people who know this village that can help us hold the fort until we get somebody else on board. And I know how this process is, and 90 days is not enough to find the right person. So we're gonna need an interim at one point or another. But when we're looking for somebody, I'm looking for somebody with experience, that has the right personality, that can fit the culture that we're looking for, which is a small, efficient government. Somebody who has experience in infrastructure projects, somebody who's a leader that can develop the trust with the staff members, with the council, and with the community, somebody who has strong understanding of finance. Also, understanding the departments and being able to delegate to them, especially the building, fire, police, and public works, which I believe is the most important one that we really need to focus on and build properly. And we also need somebody who's not going to be afraid of the council, somebody who can give a strong recommendation and whether it's approved or not, and stand up and stand behind their recommendation. The knowledge of people being somewhat local, doesn't have to be Key Biscayne, but knowing Southern Florida is a huge plus for us because they know other people, municipalities in the state that really can help us. But I think the most important thing that somebody can come is being an excellent communicator. Somebody who can communicate well between management and staff, management and council, management and our residents. Because for me, the main communicator is the manager. And that's what I'll be looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now going to move on to question number 3, which deals with the topic of civility. There's been a lot of talk about the lack of civility with the present village council. As reported, this has been a contentious election process. There are 3 open seats on the council, and the new council members, once elected, would be expected to work civilly with the 4 sitting council members. Subpart A, if elected, how would you work with the other council members who you have been at odds with during the campaign to make sure the council works effectively and efficiently on a unified agenda? Subpart B, Key Biscayne residents and businesses are receiving a number of chats. What is your opinion on the effectiveness of chats as a communication method, and should elected public officials partake in chat conversations? Candidate Renato Figueredo, please.
Great question. Thank you. Civility is the cornerstone of my my campaign. I think we need to stand united. We need to work together. We need to show at council level that we can work together, because we want to promote, like we do in our houses, our homes with our children, we want to promote civility. We want to do that to the village. I think everyone has to be civil. And that's the only way to move forward. Now, I don't like to say that I'm standing in odds with my other 9 friends on screen now. I think we are all blessed with the thought that we can help the village. And if we do this, we are doing it with the best of our intention. So I don't see any odds. I don't see any opposition. There should not be any, we can think differently, and that's great. Everything can be discussed, everything can be talked, but the cornerstone there is civility. Now, whether we need to do this via chats or what it does on the second part of the question, I think communication is key. Communication is key, especially in a world like today with COVID, where for us, and I believe that all the 9 candidates are probably feeling the same thing that I felt, is that reaching out to our fellow Key Biscayners has been a little bit more difficult than it probably was a few years ago, precisely because of this communication. So any tool that is handed out today that we can use to help better that communication and understanding will be all key ingredients to having this better civility. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Louisa Conway, please.
Louisa, you're muted.
Sorry. This is the one issue that I have to say touches me greatly. And the reason is because civility in Key Biscayne, for me, is an odd discussion topic because I believe that Key Biscayne is a friendly and civil community. And it's one of the reasons that I live here and a lot of us live here, where neighbors and friends tend to help each other out. But oddly, for some odd reason, this whole campaign has been engaging in hateful rhetoric and politics, which really truly has no place in any campaign, whether national or local. Some of us on this debate tonight have been the target of some of this hateful rhetoric that's floating around the island, and it's disappointing to see. And I think that some of it, did start right from the village council, and we've all watched that. And I think this is why there are 10 of us running, because many of us want to change that. We want to portray our island in a good light. And I feel really strongly about this. And I don't have an issue with council members being on chats. And it's the one thing that people have to communicate amongst themselves. So I think to those out there that are engaging in this type of intolerant, hateful political atmosphere and sending out emails that are attempting to mislead the electorate, I mean, I say to all of those of you out there that are watching tonight, let's take the high road. Let's remember who we are, a civil, friendly community. And together, let's rise above this. I mean, I love Key Biscayne. I value our community. I value our incorporation, but we have to learn to be more tolerant and inclusive of our very diverse cultural community. So that's what I have to say. And thank you, Justo, for asking this question.
Thank you. Next is candidate Armando Chappelli, please.
You're on mute, Armando.
I hate this machine. The sun went down on me, so I had to get up and turn on a little bit of light so that I would not appear ghostly in addition to muted. Just today I received a posting in one of the chats and with an X crossed around me, red X around my whole face and body, with several allegations of things that were taken out of context. But it seems to be the trend these days. I participate in the chats because there's a lot of information that you can get. You can also dispel misinformation and rumors. I like them. I think any form of open communication that is respectful is a positive contribution to the political process. I don't think that council should engage in the type of rhetoric and conflict that characterized its recent history. I think that by approaching each member individually and building relationships individually with them, it would be my way of developing bridges rather than differences. I think civility is defined by truth. If the council tells the truth and the members who are potential members who are running would tell the truth about, for example, the Go Bond, there has been a bunch of misinformation put out with a website, with Instagram, with emails, with articles. Justo's newspaper was overpopulated with articles and op-ed pieces not too long ago, all in favor of this GO bond, misleading the public to believe that this is not a disenfranchisement of their vote for 30 years, which is what it is. It's a blank check.
Thank you. Next is candidate Allison McCormick, please.
Thank you very much. So this is, as a person sitting on the council now and living in this community and seeing what's in these chats, this is a really important topic. And I would say that I always say Key Biscayne is a wonderful place to live, but I would also add that the community that I've chosen as a home in which to raise my 4 children has no place for this type of disrespect. I don't accept it from my children, and Key Biscayners should not accept it from their elected leaders. And you should look very carefully at who you vote for, because this is what I said in my opening statement. Really what this election is about is who do we want to be as a community. I'm happy to hear candidates saying that they don't agree with this. It's, I guess, in some cases better late than never. I'll leave it at that because I don't want to be slinging mud, but I hope it ends. And I hope that we all see a change after these statements tonight. As far as the chats go, I'm often really shocked at what I see, even from people here tonight. I think that one of the things that's happened in the village with respect to the chats is that in the absence of another way to communicate concerns that they see, people share it with each other, and then it sort of festers. So I'm going to try to take a positive turn here and just make a plug for the new Village app, the Key Biscayne 311 app. It is a place where when you see something happening that you don't like,
30 seconds.
Code enforcement problems, construction problems, you take a picture, you send it so we can fix it. I think we need to stop these conversations amongst ourselves that you feel safe in your home and you can destroy your neighbors. We are a community. We are a village. That word was chosen for a reason. We need to treat each other with respect. And we all need to be trying to row in the same direction, whether we agree with each other or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, candidate Franklin Kaplan, please.
I really wish we had the entire evening to spend on this subject because we might actually make a positive and constructive change in our demeanors. I suppose you might think, because I sponsored 2 civility resolutions and thought it was significantly important enough to make a public civility proclamation and a commemoration around it, that I think this is rather important. You'd be right in thinking so. The importance occurred to me last night when I was on the street corner witnessing a young man verbally assaulting my wife. He took a shot at me, but I wasn't interested in engaging with him. I also thought of this in context of a gesture, the vertical protruding middle finger gesture directed at someone holding a sign last week. These types of behaviors are historically unprecedented. I suppose another one, and I mean this with the utmost civility and intention, is I would make a constructive suggestion to Ronaldo, in as much as civility is the cornerstone of your campaign. Perhaps the abandonment of that amplified cacophony loudspeaker would be a civil gesture. I believe it annoys people. For what that's worth. As far as the first part of your question, what would we do if we were impaneled to be working together? Well, that's our job. I've worked with, I think, 6 separate constituent councils. I can't think of how many council members, maybe 24, 25 in total. You got to find a way to work with everybody. And it's our job to look in the mirror and determine how we comport ourselves and be honest with ourselves and with each other. Matza spoke about facing hard truths. We're not doing that in this community. You know, Key Biscayne nice, so-called, is merely ironic in this community, and we better know that and do something about it.
Thank you. Next, candidate Oscar Sardinas, please.
You muted, Oscar.
This is an incredibly important topic, and I have been coined an optimist, an enthusiastic and positive and a silver lining guy, but I'm going to go out on the limb a bit here because I am a bit distraught, actually, from a community that I grew up in that I am, as of late, failing to recognize based on what's being said. There are people on this panel that say one thing in public and say something differently in private. There are people that have told constituents that they do not want their vote and they will not speak to them. There are people on this panel that are being sued for defamation and retaliation, whatever that means. There are people here supporting people with megaphones, telling people scare tactics to hold their wallets and be careful because the council's coming for your money. I'm sorry, but this is not the island I grew up in. There's a certain level of accountability and forgiveness that we're all willing to give if people are just honest. Please, guys, let's just be honest. Let's tell people what you really stand for. Let's tell people that you don't know or see the benefit of incorporation. Let's tell them that in public. Let's tell them that you want the fire department to be run by volunteers and not by trained professionals. Let's be honest in public. I love this community. I have no odds with anybody on this panel, but I do have odds with certain actions that do not represent the community that I grew up in. I love this island. I will not stand by and allow people to be dishonest to constituents. And I ask every single resident, neighbor, friend in this community, please call each one of us, ask us tough questions. If you can get in front of us and look at the eyes of the whites of our eyes, please do so. And make a decision for yourself if this is the person that you trust to be the steward of this wonderful community. I apologize if this seems harsh to all of you. I just cannot stand by any longer and allow people to say one thing and allow their actions to do something completely different. It is not the Key Biscayne way. It is not the island I grew up in. And please, please, let's just be honest, take accountability for the things that we've said and done, ask for forgiveness and move on. There's wisdom in that, I promise you. And people will forgive you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Michael Kelly, please.
Okay, so growing up, I remember on Saturdays being super excited for my basketball game at 11 a.m., going to the Presbyterian Church, or flag football, if those of you that remember the Augustine Field, where Key Colony Plaza is now, playing flag football on Saturdays. And my entire family would come and their friends and then my friends' parents. And I don't know if it's just the ignorance of a child, but I remember being one unity. There was so much civility. And I'm not sure if it's gone or it's just on hold. But back then there were small gestures including politeness, being compassionate, considerate. They meant a lot and it made other people feel good. And when there's civility, it unifies the community, and when the community is unified, it advances the legitimate interest of volunteers that want to volunteer in the community. It advances the legitimate interest of those trying to get involved. My generation, in particular, I mean, if everyone's screaming at each other, why would we join? We're scared. I mean, some of you guys are my friends' parents. I mean, we're gonna be scared. So I know it's not gone because Key Biscayne is too good of a place for civility to be gone. It's just on hold. It's been a tough year. 2020 has been a crazy year. We're all holding the stress in. We're fed up. I understand it's been an extremely difficult year, but I know that there is civility in this island and it needs to come back. Look, we've seen council meetings and they've gone off a little bit, but again, they're always trying to do what's best for the island. And that's okay. Arguing is okay, but to a certain point. Maybe on council, we should have the Robert Rules of Orders or something of similar sort and stick to those. But as for the WhatsApp group chats and all the other group chats, it's tough. And I know people are fed up, but you guys need to elect people that talk about ideas and not other people. And I think civility is extremely important, no matter if it's council or as a resident. So thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Jennifer Allegra, please.
Okay, let's just call a spade here. Everyone is jealous because Ronaldo has the best group of supporters. Ronaldo, when you get on council, please invite me to your victory party. So we're all adults here, we're not children. In my opinion, civility has many different components. Such components include respect, integrity, accountability, veracity for the truth without omissions, humility, sincerity, and compassion. Civility goes hand in hand with civics. Community engagement is an important aspect of civics, and that engagement comes in many different forms. Some choose to run for office or serve on council, others choose to attend council meetings, and others choose to read the Islander News to keep up with local government. If we cannot speak freely, genuinely, and respectfully about our concerns and our firmly held differences, then we can't accomplish much. It's only through passionate but respectful disagreement that will come to decisions that are thoroughly examined and well made. Civility is about disagreeing without disrespect, seeking common ground as a starting point for dialogue about differences. We must learn to tolerate different point of views. Engaging in groupthink is completely unhealthy. At the end of the day, everyone's opinion should be respected, but usually the winning argument is the one supported by verifiable facts without omissions. We need to be able to speak freely about all issues, especially important issues. We can all agree that ad hominem attacks have no place in a civil world, and such attacks deviate from the issues at hand. Issues of the government fall under the category of political speech.
30 seconds.
Our founding fathers wanted to protect us from a tyrannical government. Protection of political speech is the main purpose of the First Amendments. Citizens have a right to criticize the government. As such, if I'm elected to serve the citizens of Key Biscayne, I fully accept that my decisions or actions will and should be criticized. We live in a small community. We live in a civil community. We are a passionate community. We are passionate about this island. And we engage in heated but respectful debates. And then we can shake hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Matt Bramson, please.
Yeah, I want to start by thanking Oscar for his passion and directness. I'm a lover of words in speech and writing. Words like warrior and fight and lies and distrust and corruption set the wrong tone. I always try to remember that the objective is to be tough on the problem and easy on the people. Going back to the format of the original question, I have a good relationship with every member of the council. I've been involved in our community for many years. So these are folks that I have served with in various capacities and have an active relationship. I have no concerns about my ability to fit in with that group and be collegial and effective. Turning my attention to the chats, I'm in the communications industry. I understand the technology. I understand the way that chats are used to drive engagement and ultimately revenue. Chats are conceptually great. They are structurally and practically flawed. The way to have constructive discussions about contentious issues is face-to-face, not hit and run, not where you can selectively respond. When I'm having a conversation with you, if I say something that you don't want to respond to, that's evident. When you're on a chat, you can just disappear and come back tomorrow and pick up. It's one of the reasons that I've committed since the beginning of my campaign to being available every Monday, face-to-face, 12:30 at the Donut Gallery, and on Zoom at 7 p.m. I want to see people face-to-face. If you're comfortable doing it physically or not, I want to see your face. I want to hear your concerns. I want to hear your perspectives. I wrote an article in the Key News a year or so ago. It was very well received about social media and about the impact that it's having on our community and more broadly on our country. I'm very concerned about some of the comments that I've seen on chats. I didn't hear anybody on this dais or whatever we call this in Zoom world, disavow some of the things that they're being quoted as saying. And I think that's really, indicative of, what I guess they intend to do if they're able to convince enough people to vote for them. And that concerns me. I don't want a volunteer fire department. I don't want to be reincorporated into the county. I don't want, some of these other things that were revealed, were said on some of these chats. I expect that those are sincere beliefs, and they concern me.
Thank you. Next is candidate Brett Moss, please.
Thank you. So civility to me is about respect for each other. It's about listening to one another. I'm not sure what has changed in Key Biscayne over the last couple of years. I've run 2 times now. Prior to this is my 3rd time running for council, and it's always been fun. I've created friendships among candidates, among residents. It's always been a very happy thing that we happy experience. But the atmosphere that has been created lately in Key Biscayne is not what I've seen previously. I hope it's not the future of Key Biscayne, because we need to be civil, and like we were for many years. We need civility both on the council level and in the community as well. We all come from different places. We all have different circumstances. We have different perspectives, and we need to respect that. We need to listen to each other. We need to listen, especially those who disagree, but be compassionate, even with the people who disagree. Put yourself in their shoes and see where they're coming from. And that really makes a very effective council member when you can do that. The chats are supposed to help disperse information much easier. However, it's also a platform to spread misinformation, which I believe is also dangerous, but it's very difficult to control. People have used this platform to create a deteriorating atmosphere, and we need to do a better into uniting this community. I don't participate in the chats. Being a bully is not effective. Causing chaos in the community is not something, or on council, or dividing and trying to conquer is actually counterproductive of what we're trying to achieve as policymakers and moving our community forward.
30 seconds.
It's not efficient. It's divisive. We need to get back to moving forward on policy making so we can prosper as a community. We need to stop the divisiveness. If we divide each other against one another, we become a weak community. And this I'm strongly against. Thank you.
Thank you. Justo, we're now at 7:40 with closing statements. We'll go a little bit past 8 o'clock. Do you want to plow on to a 4th question or go to closing remarks?
I think, what do the candidates say? We go to another question, or we're going to approach 2 hours, we'll go to closing statements? It's going to be long. If we go, it will be another 40 minutes. I think we'll go to closing statements. Then.
Hi, this is Jennifer Lecker. I think we should discuss small businesses because this is vital to our community.
It's fine with me.
If everybody's okay with that, let's do it.
Okay.
Public safety.
Okay, so the 4th question is: small businesses are suffering as a result of the pandemic's impact on the economy. In late September, Yelp released a local economic impact report showing that over 3,200 businesses have closed in Miami-Dade County, several here on the island, since the pandemic, with 60% of those not expected to reopen. The present Village Council discussed providing aid in a maximum of $1,000 or so to local businesses. If elected, what ideas would you put forth for the village to consider helping small businesses on the island who are struggling with decreased business and high operational costs? Subpart B, this was sent in by a resident and reader and local business owner. If elected, what would you do to ensure that Key Biscayne receives its rightful share of the CARES Act money granted to Miami-Dade County? And would you be willing to allocate CARES Act funds to benefit the island's small business community? Mr. Figueredo, please.
I think the situation of small businesses is a reflection of what's happening to the whole economy. We have very high rents. Yes, we have an economy that has been shut down for a certain period of time. Has not helped the businesses, and we need to see how we can promote this growth again. Now, I think one easy part, and in discussions with the different business owners on the village, on the island that I've had, again and again and again and again, they complained, for example, losing the tennis tournament. That was the singlest best publicity that we had, and we paid $0 for that. We need to find out, sit down together, and figure out something that will promote the KB brand again, that we can be on the map and attract people to come and spend their dollars with us, with our businesses. And that's the only way our businesses will be able to survive. The CARES Act, I think, yes. I think we need to help out. We need to reach out. We need to make our voices be heard. I think in the unity, by just standing united as a village, cross coverage and talking to the authority at the county level, with a positive communication, we can achieve help for our community, our local community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Louisa Conway, please.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer, for making sure we got to this. This is really important. I think our small businesses have taken a hit. And I've spoken to some of the owners, some who own restaurants and retail shops, and they are struggling. I think the one way to help our small businesses is for the village to consider suspending for a specific period of time the occupational business license tax. And the businesses already pay that tax to the county, and they also pay the tax to the village to operate. And I understand it's a revenue stream for the village. But, I just think that, and I know this has come before council, and I would just say that we should think about giving them a little bit of a break and showing them in good faith that we appreciate the partnership. And I would say that by giving them this tax break on the businesses that actually pay rent on the key and serve customers, this might help them to stay in business. And that's why I think with the CARES Act, that may be something to help augment some of the costs for some of these businesses. And to the Chamber of Commerce that's hosting this evening, I would ask them to start to develop some economic development strategies and promotion to encourage residents to patronize these businesses. Because look, folks, if we lose these restaurants or some of these businesses, ask yourself, when you're not in the mood to cook and you want to go out to dinner, are you really going to go drive 20, 30 minutes just to go get something to eat? I mean, they're here for us. They help improve our lifestyle. They are a source of revenue to the village. And I really think we have to really focus in on our small business partners. And if I'm on council, this is something that I would hope with the other council members that we explore, suspending the occupational business tax. That's something I think we should at least debate and discuss. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Armando Chappelli, please.
As the owner of two companies, still managing them at the present time, I experienced directly the impact of the pandemic. One company located in Doral suffered 50% loss in revenue overnight. So I bring to the table experience that is immediate, pertinent, and very diverse challenges that I have had to meet. So one of my ideas would be to identify talent, for council to identify talent in Key Biscayne that would volunteer their services. Each small business in Key Biscayne is its own world. They have different issues, different challenges that they have to face and resolve. So creating adaptable teams of consulting volunteers that can approach each business and work with them specifically to see what their specific needs are and how council and the village can help them through this time. I think it would be, we have so much talent here. We have so many talented people that we could that would gladly volunteer to do this. And it requires some measure of organization. Perhaps a chamber can be the organizing entity. I don't know if anyone is seeing me because I'm looking at Mr. Stanton. Is Justo, are you awake?
We can see you. We can see you.
Okay. The CARES Act has a pool of money. Anywhere we can find pools of money to provide some a lending hand to small businesses in Key Biscayne is a good thing to do. So I think we have a lot of resources here. I think we need to care enough to apply those resources in person to these individual businesses and work with them to solve their problems one by one. I think we can do it and we can pull through.
Thank you. Next candidate, Allison McCormick, please.
Thank you. I think it's important when we look at how we can help small businesses to look at what we've done and how it's worked. I think the use of the freebies as delivery services during the quarantine was super successful and a way to be nimble on our feet. And I think also in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, the village reached out very early on to try to help businesses to be aware of what help was out there for them, loans and grants and other types of assistance. And looking at the data, we've done 2 surveys, one at the beginning and one more recently. I think we've definitely been able to help. This has to continue. So looking forward, I just read a couple of days ago an update from our federal lobbyists that we use for the beach renourishment. And there's, we use them since we're paying them. We use them also to help us with all things on the federal level. And with the HEROES Act, there's some funding that may be coming directly for restaurants and an extension of the Paycheck Protection Plan. And our village has to stay on top of this and use every single thing at our disposal to be able to help our local businesses to avail themselves of any help that there is out there for them. Some other positive steps that we have taken and should continue. I like we've helped restaurants to get outdoor dining space. This has been extended to November 3rd. I think we should extend it further. It gives our residents an opportunity to be outside in a safe way, which is crucial for mental health.
30 seconds.
Obviously also good for our businesses. Sorry, we need to help our exercise studios. We have suspended the limit on permits for people to offer classes in the park and have a special rate available for businesses already established on the key. We also, I'm working with the chamber and Todd and the village manager's office to try to put together an opportunity to do some type of almost like a farmer's market, but for our local retailers to be able to showcase their wares, but also to be able to drum up some business and also to give our residents an opportunity to be outside and be interacting in a safe way. So 2 points. One, yes, we have to do everything we can with CARES Act funding, HEROES Act funding, any type of assistance available, but also we need to help our businesses to adapt to this new normal. So a 2-pronged approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Franklin Kaplan, please.
That was a good list from Allison. We all recognize the hardship, and we all are motivated to do whatever can be done to ameliorate the multiple adversities, and best assure a healthy emergence to recover a fully functioning, healthy mixed-use community. We probably need to be a little bit disciplined and not conflate the COVID response opportunities that larger governmental units have that a small city like ours does not have. We do not, for example, control the court system. We do not collect the property taxes, so that we cannot create deferrals on foreclosures and evictions. We cannot create deferrals on payment of ad valorem taxes. We can lobby for those things, and I know that we have actually at the county level. But what we can do, and Luisa hit on one element, which is business tax receipts. There are several others: solid waste fees, community center fees and dues and things of that sort that we do collect that we could provide temporary relief on. The problem with those devices is it's just not a lot of money. But it also is true that any help helps. I think it's important to remember that normalcy depends on a medical solution. You know, this is a medical emergency as well as an economic emergency. We have to bear that in mind.
30 seconds.
And continue to take precautions. Something that is easy and obvious for us to do is to shop locally and to spread it around. You know, take care of the purveyors that take care of us. The chamber also noted and advocated among the commercial tenants and their landlords the proposition of cooperation and patience. You know, ride with each other as best as you can.
Time.
Okay.
Thank you. Next candidate, Oscar Sardinas, please.
So no doubt we're all in this together. I know several owners of several businesses and they are hurting. I think alleviation of certain building and zoning parameters are things that the village has already done. Allison mentioned parking areas being used as extensions of restaurants. Could it have been possibly done sooner? Maybe, I don't know, but nevertheless, it was a great act on the side of the village to help and support not only the businesses, but the landlords who rent to those businesses. Somebody mentioned branding. We all sit here and constantly talk about what a wonderful place we live in. But we're in an echo chamber. If we're not sharing that with the world and we're not showing up with neighboring municipalities and we're not showing empathy and we're not going there and being present and understanding their ideas and their issues and their problems, we will never receive reciprocation on that. And so we need to stand out a bit more. Our branding needs to be better. We need to have a plan for that. CARES Act. County received almost $1 billion or so odd dollars, of which 25 million are earmarked for our island. There was a report that came out recently that would have suggested that we weren't proactive enough to put together programs that would be funded by this CARE Act. And so it would almost seem that we didn't do the diligence necessary to be proactive to make sure that we receive our portion of that money to help our economy. We have to be proactive. We have to reach out with our municipalities. We have to ensure that that money is well spent and that it's brought back to our home. And although I do say Key Biscayne is first, we're not alone and we're all in this together. And so we have to continue to work together to find out what our community wants. And honestly, maybe the question needs to go from me to the chamber. How more can I help you, right? How can we help our local businesses? Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Michael Kelly, please.
So a few years ago, a little more than a few years ago, but my brother used to own a restaurant here in Key Biscayne. And no, it wasn't open to the entire public because it was in Key County and it was a gazebo. I understood the hardship that he had to go through. I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, a lot of people off the Key don't come into the Key to dine, to shop. And unfortunately, we do the other way around, where we'll actually go to Dayland Mall or to our favorite restaurants off the Key. So business in the Key are competing with business obviously outside the Key and amongst each other, and that supports a good economy. But we definitely need to support local business, and we need to do it a lot better and a lot more often. Again, I was mentioning my brother had a restaurant, and I see the hardship that he went through. I can only imagine this year with 2020, COVID, and everything that's happening. So if council can find a way to maybe halt or defer the financial burden, whatever the licenses and all that stuff, what they just need to find a way to halt or defer the financial burden. Also, maybe create a local fund. I mean, we have the CARES Act and all that stuff, but maybe just hold a certain amount just in case for local businesses, providing assistance to businesses to applying for SBA and all the loans, the paycheck protection. I tried to do it for friends and family, and it was extremely complicated. So I can only imagine what they were going through as well. And survey. We need to survey way more often why people are going to restaurants, why they don't want to go to restaurants. I mean, it's so convenient. We should always be there, and it increases our property value. but we don't know why more people aren't going out. So, and lastly, and this could be the millennial in me, but an app maybe where all the businesses can promote. They have specials, deals. It's something simple that maybe the Chamber of Commerce can come up with, and the village can assist in funding. But my generation, everything's on the iPhone. Remember, so they would probably go to more restaurants if it was an app, and they could just scroll through it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Jennifer Allegra, please.
So thank you for allowing us to touch on this question. So I think that we can all agree that small businesses are part of the fabric of this island. Our businesses add value to our properties. They increase the walkability score and really give us that small town feel. Breakfast at Artisan is amazing, though if I get on council, I'll pass an ordinance to make the pancakes and French toast illegal because they're so good, they're dangerous. Pastries and sandwiches at Patagonia, Milanese at Novecento, seafood at Costa Med, pasta at Randazzo's, a mojito at the Ritz. And after all that eating, you're probably going to need to go to the court to get a new pair of sneakers because you'll be 300 pounds before you know it. Toys from Toys Town, just to name a few. All the businesses in Key Biscayne are so important to our lives and our community. I can't really, like Michael said, I can't imagine what they're going through. And I'm asking everyone who's watching to please support our local businesses. Don't go to South Beach, don't go to Brickell, please spend your money here. Relevant to what the village can control, I think another way of supporting the businesses are to loosen some of the regulations and taxes to the extent that health and safety are not compromised. We can also try to promote small businesses in a fair and equal way via our almost daily village communications. We can have our own KB restaurant and small business week to promote those businesses. Now, relevant to the CARES Act, there's many issues. According to the September 18th edition of the Miami Herald, the county received $474 million in CARES Act allocation from both Tallahassee and Washington. According to recent reports, only $100 million of the CARES Act is being set aside by the county for the 34 municipalities to share. Of the $100 million that's set aside, only $300,000 was cleared for payouts since September 30th. Also, it's important to note that the county must spend this money by December 31st, 2020. I believe if we could get the landlords and businesses the money as soon as possible, if not yesterday, we could help save many of the small businesses on Key Biscayne. We need true leaders to fight for our small businesses to access this monetary relief. Energy and persistence do conquer all things, says Benjamin Franklin, and I have a lot of energy and I'm very determined. I ask that again, residents, please support the businesses on Key Biscayne.
Thank you. Next candidate, Matt Bramson, please.
Thank you. So this is what I do. I run a company on Key Biscayne, and that company helps other companies grow revenue, overcome environmental challenges, environmental meaning, competitors, budgetary challenges. Since I'm the guy who talks about, tough truths, sustainability of our businesses has been a problem for a long time, candidly. The coronavirus hasn't made it any better. Jennifer rattled off the names of a bunch of restaurants. I could rattle off a list 3 times as long of the restaurants that aren't on Key Biscayne anymore. And I've only been here 12 years. The rents are high, the traffic is low, and it's a difficult problem. The CARES Act is a great idea. We should try to maximize that and other funds and cut costs as best we can, but it's not a structural solution. There are some big trends that are destroying main streets all over America. And it's our behavior, using Amazon, using food delivery services from a long range, that's driving it. I would do 2 things. I would increase the support of the Chamber of Commerce. Michael's idea is a great one. We call that a shared loyalty program, where via an app or some other means, all the businesses on Key Biscayne would cooperate jointly in a loyalty program. You'd earn points or some other benefit for being loyal to Key Biscayne restaurants. Been working with some neighbors who are passionate ecologists on an idea of a key cup that's a multi-use cup that you could use at all the different businesses and get some kind of incentive and not use single-use cups that are common at a lot of places. And I think we also need to emphasize the 2040 vision plan. we need to be adapting our community, and especially, not especially, but including our commercial area, so that it's sustainable. And the design of those facilities, those shopping centers, are outdated. They're built for cars, not for pedestrians. The businesses are hidden. I walk those facilities and find businesses I didn't even know were there, and that's got to change. We've got to also bring back more community events. I think that's a big point. The loss of the tennis has to be recouped somehow. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Brett Moss, please.
Thank you. Well, the answer is yes. I 100% support that the CARES Act is passed over to help our businesses. Our businesses are a crucial part of our quality of life. We all know it. We have suspended the businesses tax months ago to help give them relief. I was on the board of the Chamber of Commerce for years. I'm also an owner of 2 businesses, and I was also impacted negatively because of COVID. So I do understand what many businesses are going through. The county mayor did give executive orders to close businesses, especially those like restaurants. I was in a meeting with the chamber and all the restaurants where they were going to close the restaurants again. And I immediately turned around, spoke to many different people in the community at large, the League of Cities, to push that Key Biscayne wants to have outdoor dining, and we got it. I'm sure I was one of many people all over the county fighting for that. And also, I also pushed for the outdoor dining, so I believe that helped them also. But what is the best way to give the relief for our businesses? How do we administer this? Some people are more affected than others. And I believe that it comes down to taxes and rents. And I believe that we should bring this money to the landlords, because the landlords are also negatively affected by this. And if we can somehow help with the property taxes to the landlords, and the landlords would have to select the different people with rents and how they could give rent relief to those tenants, I think would be the best way, because we're not equipped to administer so many different businesses and to check up and make sure it's being done. But we can help the landlords on their property taxes and do a pass through to make sure that the tenants are being helped as well. So they're both are sharing the help. And I think that might be the best way to bring that in. And I've already had discussions with our current manager to look at this possibility for the CARES Act, and working with her to see if we can do this.
Time.
Thank you. Okay, now we're up to our closing remarks. Mr. Ronaldo Figueredo.
Yeah, there we go. First of all, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank the Islander for this beautiful platform to let our voices be heard. I want to thank all the candidates. I wish you all the best of luck in your endeavors and what the electors want to or will promote the vote they want to place. I also want to thank the Key Biscayners. I think all the work all 10 of us are doing here, and all the ones that are already on council are doing, is all for the greater good of us all. And that's what I want to promote. I want to promote a simple, educated, united Key Biscayne. I want to be your voice in the council, and I really just want this moment to thank those who really want to make this a better place. I want to take a little second on, I wanted to speak about our safety, and I just want to make a big shout out to all our first responders. I think, and what council did to approve a bonus for them, I think it's just great. That goes in line to thanking your wonderful dedication and work, and keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Louisa Conway, please.
I wanted to thank everyone in Key Biscayne that tuned in tonight. And I really wanted to thank Justo and Tatiana this evening. And thank you for making sure that this gets out to the electorate to hear our voices, all 10 of us. And so with that, like many of you that are watching tonight, I worry about the state of our local government, our village fiscal management, and the environmental threats to our beaches and shorelines, and the need for new leadership. This is the most important election. You are being asked to decide to continue the status quo or change the trajectory of the village toward a brighter future by electing new council members that will hopefully add value and build unity and consensus. I believe the combination of my public policy and business background are attributes that we need on the village council. As a public advocate, I firmly believe in the partnership between the public and the government are essential for community building. You must be engaged. You need to feel that you have a voice on council. As your council member, I promise to speak up and advocate for you. Together, we will unify and build a prosperous Key Biscayne and celebrate our diverse cultural backgrounds. But let's not forget, divisive rhetoric has no place in our society and certainly not in Key Biscayne. And with that, I want to say to everyone this evening that's watching, I am not planning to defund the police. That is insane. And I am a firm believer in incorporation. So it is very sad to see that people felt the need to send out erroneous information. And I am committed, as you are, as a group of citizens, we are all committed to building and improving Key Biscayne. So I humbly and respectfully ask for your vote to be one of your new council members. And together we will make Key Biscayne history. Thank you very much for your time and evening. And thank you to all my supporters, friends, and family.
Thank you. Next candidate, Armando Chappelli, please.
Armando, you're muted.
No, I'm not.
There you are.
You can't hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it was not muted, but it works better now, I guess. I wanted to thank you, Justo, and I wanted to thank Mr. Stanton and Tatiana and everyone who has made all these wonderful Zoom meetings possible. I think the village is in a transitional point in its history, an important one, where it's grown to a size of budgetary concerns and challenges that requires that fundamentals be addressed, be installed, and be adopted and abided by. It is no good to have a financial management system if people are not going to use it. It's not good to have a village manager if people are going to micromanage that person. We have serious challenges, multiple challenges in resiliency, but I'm more interested in resiliency financially than I am before I am interested in hardening and undergrounding and addressing all the other projects. I would like to, if I'm elected to council, I would like to create a recruitment committee of the council and they select the proper recruitment firm and create a process by which we will not miss the goal of having a multi-year relationship with a strong, capable manager. And above all, I would like to
30 seconds.
I would like to get our council members to unify on an approach to resolving the Bearcat Bridge problem, because that is a real and present danger to the safety and security of our island and to the property values of our island. And above all, I urge everyone who gets elected to please tell the truth to the people of Key Biscayne. Do not dissemble and do not pretend that we're doing one thing when we're doing another. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Allison McCormick, please.
Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. And thank you to everyone watching tonight. Before I start my closing, I'm going to indulge myself as a council member and just make a plug that if you haven't yet filled out your census, there is a link on the village website. We are really lagging behind, and it is crucial for funding, which is something we've talked a lot about tonight. So if you haven't yet filled out your census, please do so. Okay. So this 2020 has been a real challenge for all of us. And as I've tried to juggle the responsibilities of having 4 kids learning from home and volunteering, serving on your council, and now campaigning for this election, I am as aware as many of how hard this has been. And as I go around campaigning, I have encountered a lot of people who are really worried about our future. They're worried about our infrastructure and our preparedness for storms, and they're worried about the issues of civility that were discussed at length tonight. But I want to tell you that our village is strong. I believe in Key Biscayne, and I believe in you, the Key Biscayne residents. I believe that through your votes on November 3rd, you can move our amazing village in all the right ways. I feel that I have proven my leadership through true, honest service. I am committed to continuing that. We will get through 2020, and we must come together again as a community. It's throwing us a lot of challenges, but my overwhelming feeling about living on Key Biscayne, even more than concern for our future, is gratitude. We live in an amazing place.
30 seconds.
We need to work together to make it even better. I am grateful to serve my community, and I am dedicated to continued service. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Next candidate, Franklin Kaplan, please.
Thank you all. Thank you, Walter. You know, we're deep into this vetting process now, and several things emerge sort of conspicuously. One is there's an interesting chasm, I would say chasm of differences of opinion among, and maybe including ideology and approach among some of the candidates. Stark differences. From my point of view, and rooted in my experience of working in the village, some of what I hear contended, alleged, implied, just bears no resemblance to any reality that I recognize. Which I guess brings me back to one of the questions tonight is, how do we work together? Let's assume some of us become elected in this race and come from sort of different ideological perspectives. We have to engage with each other, and we have to speak truth where there's a perception of disingenuity. I think the implicit contention that there is kind of a deep state at work in Key Biscayne needs to have a flashlight shown on it.
30 seconds.
And maybe some pesticides sprayed on it. I don't know where that comes from, but I think a lot turns on this election, obviously. We've all spoken about it. Who serves on this next council is going to make a big difference to our future. I would suggest to the voters that my ideas, my comportment, my experience, my approach, my knowledge, my energetic willingness, desire, ability to work with people, especially people with whom I disagree, will be aligned with a better future. So I hope you will consider that and support me in this candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Oscar Sardinas, please.
So I want to go back to just thanking my neighbors, my friends, my supporters on every side of every issue. The perspective you shared with me has been invaluable. I want to go back a little bit to accountability. Words are important. Language is important. What you say behind closed doors should be the same thing you say in public when you look at people's eyes. We should continue to be honest. I think disagreement is perfectly fine as long as there's civility attached to it. We all have an opinion. We all have a perspective. We all have some place we came from, a place a way we were raised, circumstances that make us who we are and make us individuals and make this community what it is. There's absolutely zero reason to disagree and then judge that person based on a simple disagreement. I think we're a remarkable community. Nowhere else could I have been activated as deeply as I am here to serve on 2 educational advisory boards, to create a foundation that, unbeknownst to me, there was actually a demand for. This was just a dream for me, but I have a community that got behind me and said, yeah, let's do this. We created jobs. We created enrichment programs. This was all done because people got together and believed in each other.
30 seconds.
People that didn't believe in this also got behind it after a certain moment. We can learn from this. There's 10 of us here. Let's just be honest. You know, please reach out. Just give me a call, have a conversation. There's no judgment from me. I just want perspective. I just want to understand where you're coming from. And then I want to do my best and work really hard to make this community as great as it can be.
Time.
Have a lot of opportunity here. Let's not waste it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, Michael Kelly, please.
All right. Well, Key Biscayne, my first love. She's the longest relationship I've ever had. Her and along with my mother provided me with the best childhood any child could ever ask for. And so with that said, I know what needs to be done and what we need to continue to do to maintain that childhood that I had for future generations. But now I'm 27. I'm a young adult. Got my first job 2 years ago. I know, and families, all my friends are starting to have kids, and my loved ones, they're having their own kids. So everyone around me is starting to have kids. And so I know, even though I'm not going through it right now, I know, and I'm going to have to listen to what they say, because raising a family in Key Biscayne is not easy. And so I'm there with open ears. And so I hope that all those new families that just moved to Key Biscayne and the younger ones reach out to me. I would love to hear it, and it would prepare me for my experience when I have to go through it. And lastly, I know what if my mom leaves Key Biscayne, it's the end for me, right? I'm going to have to go with her. So I know what senior citizens need. I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep her here. It's difficult. My aunts and uncles, if they left as well, it wouldn't be the same Key Biscayne for me. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to get all three of those generations and mix them together. I'm going to try to bring this modern philosophy, a new perspective. I know that I only have 1/10 of the experience that all the other candidates have, and they are all well qualified. So it doesn't matter who you vote for, but when you're voting for me, you're voting for all the experts, because I have to rely on the experts. I cannot make a decision just based off my past experience. So yes, I'm going to be that candidate, or excuse me, that councilman who, can I hear the expert again? Can I hear another expert? That'll be me. So when you vote for me, you're voting for all the experts, and I'm bringing this new modern philosophy that I hope that future generations can have. So thank you. And
thank you.
Let's go Heat. Don't forget, let's go Heat. Support the Heat. Thank you.
Next candidate, Jennifer Allegra, please.
Thank you. So it occurred to me that this could be my last opportunity to publicly thank a few people. So I'd like to start off by thanking outgoing Councilmember Petros for her service to the community and for voting against a charter amendment to increase the debt cap. I'd also like to thank Ambassador Laredo and Councilmember Cigarola for being the voices of reason over the past few months. I hope you get the support you need and deserve during your remaining term as council members. I'd also like to thank the people who have supported me in both the big and small ways, whether it be hosting my signs on your lawn or the emails and calls of support and encouragement. They're truly inspirational. Finally, I'd like to thank all those who have already trusted me with their vote. I'm humbled and honored that I have earned your trust. For those neighbors who have questions and want to share their concerns about what's ever important to them, I'd love to hear from you. Please contact me at electallegra@gmail.com. Again, that's electallegra@gmail.com or 305-699-4426. I firmly believe that together as the community, we can and we will preserve this special island. I believe in we the people. If elected, I want to be the vehicle to get the people's voices heard on the dais. Although we may not always agree all the time, let us not forget that we share a commonality. We love our island. For me, my love affair began when I was 11 years old. As a resident of the Northeast, I visited Key Biscayne shortly after my mother passed away on our first family vacation following her passing. We stayed at the Sonesta and snorkeled around for days. I remember thinking at that time in the water, wow, this is such a beautiful place. Years later, as an adult, I visited Key Biscayne several times with my boyfriend. In 2005, during one of our trips to Key Biscayne, my boyfriend surprised me and asked me for my hand in marriage. I said yes, and the next morning we had an epic day of permit and tar pit fishing under the Bear Cut Bridge, followed by an amazing stone crab dinner at the Ritz-Carlton. Before we checked out of the Ritz, we said one day, we're gonna move here. I'm happy to be here, no pun intended. Paul and I are truly blessed to have met so many amazing people over the last 8 years. I'm running to serve the good people that I know, as well as the good people I have not met yet. God bless America and God bless Key Biscayne.
Thank you. Next candidate, Matt Bramson, please.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. This has been a great opportunity for people to get to know the candidates and me better. It won't be the last time you hear from me. I'll be involved in community leadership till you drag me out of here feet first. Every Monday, you can come see me at the Donut Gallery at 12:30. Every Monday at 7 p.m. We call it Monday with Matt to my fans. Every Monday at 7 p.m. you can join me on Zoom. You can come to my website, mattbramson.com, and you can see articles I've written in public over years expressing my thoughtful opinions on community issues. You can get a taste for how I think and how I would lead if I was given the opportunity on the council. I've been involved in leadership on Key Biscayne since the moment I got here. It's not recent. It's not a result of a single issue. I'm not going to disappear again at the end of this election, win or lose. If I am elected to council, I will be the type of representative that faces tough truths, as I've done on this session, and I do in every leadership opportunity I'm given. I will build consensus through listening. I work very hard to learn and find solutions. I said on a previous session that every leadership job I've ever gotten, I've learned how little I understood about the role that my understanding before I stepped into the understanding I came to have. I get results. Don't have time to go through them right now, but every role I've had in leadership has been one in which I've brought results. I would like your vote. This is an important election. The 3 people that you select to fill the empty seats are going to make a lot of important decisions and are going to determine the tone for our community. And I think that I represent a great choice. And if you have any doubts, see me on Monday. I'd love to convince you otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, please, Brett Moss.
I'd first like to thank the Key Biscayne Chamber of Commerce and the Islander News. Walter, thank you very much for helping moderate. Thank you to all the candidates for putting themselves out there. This is not easy to do. It's very stressful. And last, I would like to thank the residents for tuning in and getting informed. I believe you have some difficult choices in front of you. There's quite a few good candidates that are qualified and probably will do a great job. So, but I think one thing I wanted to state is that, politics, I don't really like so much. I'm not really into the political world or looking for a political position. This has always been to me as community service. This is a community service position, and I'm doing my part in the community. I'm available. You can reach out to me on any issues. I'd love to hear people, even on opposing views. It's great. My email's available on the village website, and I check it regularly. I'm a sensible person. I love this community. I'm a hard worker. I'm extremely serious about the position, and I believe I have shown my commitment to this board and to this community. I bring my experience as a council member, as well as an architect and a general contractor and a business owner. And this is critical for projects that we're going to embark on in the future, as well as selecting a new manager. I believe in continuity is critical and important for a productive council. And I want to repeat from the last forum that I said is that we need council members that will unite and not divide this community. And this starts with a civil council. We can have excellent discourse on any issues and agree or disagree respectfully, but we shall not divide against each other. Being united as one community is the only way we will preserve Key Biscayne as a great community, more unique from any other. Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of all the listeners, I certainly would like to salute each of you candidates. It's very obvious you're very sincere in what you're trying to do. It's obvious you care about the place that you live and work in. And certainly the civility of tonight and then the last forum we had was special. So I hope it continues. Justo, it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time. Thanks to the residents who've listened and you guys for enduring 2 hours and 24 minutes. Jennifer, I do appreciate you making sure that we address a small business as something that we hear a lot of.
Thank you for allowing me to do that.
You're now in a sprint. We have, I don't know how many days until November 3rd. So from the Islander, we wish you all the best of luck. We invite the residents to get involved in supporting the candidates and send us your many endorsements. That's an island tradition that the Islander to publish that. And we love to publish all of them once we get. But thank you very much for everybody. Thank you for taking the time. And again,
Quick question.
I'm sorry.
Quick question. Do you have a count on viewers tonight?
I do not yet, but we will.
Okay.
Available to you guys. Thank you again for everybody tuning in. And have a good night and best of luck to everybody. And go Heat.
Go Heat.
Very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Michael.
Tatiana.
Thank you. Good night. Have a good night and good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Tatiana.
Thank you to Tatiana and the
Love you,
team.
Key Biscayne.
Good night, Key Biscayne.
Thank
Hasta
you.
la vista, baby.